Oh boy. Okay, there's two things I want to talk about today, and two quick things. The first is I'm racing tomorrow, and what am I going to do the day before in terms of a ride? We have a little bit of it now. There's two options that I usually do, that I usually choose from. One is 2-hour endurance, and the other is 45 minutes to 60 minutes with pickups. And the pickups are going to be, starting off with 30-second efforts and going up to 1-minute efforts, doing maybe 3 of those. The concept is that you want to prime the pump. More specifically, you want to activate the lactic acid filtering machine in your legs, in your body actually. And it'll make it that much easier to do your warm-up the next day. And since I'm 66 and I don't want to rush to the race because I'm also subject to AFib, I want to do what I can to minimize any negative effect on my heart by rushing when I don't need to rush, and that's just one example. So today I'm doing about kind of like a mix. I'm doing some pickups, and I am doing about 75 minutes, 60 minutes. What I did the day before, Thursday, was nothing. What I did Wednesday was arguably too much. I did that in a previous video, in case you've seen it, on increasing your end of race strength. And if I was younger cycling Greek, that would have been fine. But now that I'm older cycling Greek, recovery just takes a little longer. So I hopefully will be fine for tomorrow, and I think I will. Oh yeah. Hey cycling community, this is Steve Groussis, the Cycling Greek. The second thing I want to talk about is adapting to the heat. Ordinarily, a lot of the racing locally, that's near me, is in the late winter and early spring. And then I dial it back in the summer because it gets hotter, because I'm an old guy. And then I'll pick and choose some of the races that happen in later summer and fall, because some of them are toward the coast. While it's hot for them over there, it's not so hot for me, relatively speaking. This year is different. It's a COVID year. And I started racing just last week, so toward the end of April. So a lot of the races that are going to be close to me are going to be happening in the summer also. So I have to adapt to the heat. So just how am I going to be able to do that? Before we answer that question, let's look at how the body biochemically and biomechanically deals with the heat. There are two methods that I'm aware of. The first is it moves the heat out of the body. So the heart's pumping faster, it's moving heat, it's moving blood to the capillaries so it can dissipate through the skin and out to the environment. The second is, and my knowledge is a little more thinner in it, but I remember researching this years ago, is that there's an enzyme that helps you deal with the heat in the muscles. I believe it's in the muscles. In both cases, you have to work in the heat, be in the heat, and ride in the heat. Just before this ride, I was filling in this hole, this 3-foot by 3-foot hole, maybe a cubic yard, from this water main that we had problems with that we finally got fixed. And that was pretty hot work. One reason it was hot work is because the temperature has shot up to 94 today. It's been in the mid-80s previously, and last couple of days it shot up, and then tomorrow, fortunately, a little bit is going down for the race. Keep in mind, this 94 degrees, I'm going to be begging for in a couple months. It's going to feel so cool, but right now, not so cool. As for riding in the heat, there's typically two options. One is to do consecutive days of endurance, and what I've heard is 10 days in a row. But when you do that, keep in mind that when you're training for heat adaptation, you're not training for much of anything else. The second is you actually do intervals in the heat. That's going to cause more heat in your body. That's going to cause faster heat adaptation. Again, same caveat. If you're training for heat adaptation, you're not training for much of anything else. Okay, done. Now, it could have been hotter today. There's a thin, very thin layer of clouds out there that is kind of protecting me from the heat a bit. So I got a little bit of heat training, but not as much as I could have had. Okay, there's also companies out there that have these tents or whatever, and you can like the old India sweat lodge thing, and you can go in there and do your thing, whether it's on a bike or sitting. I'm not sure about that. That sounds costly, and maybe that sounds more appropriate for a professional. Now, I do have a teammate that he likes to go on Zwift, no fans, puts on sweats, and he'll do some heat training in that. And he's younger than me. He's in his 50s. He's stronger than me, and I've noticed in the past that I die out well before he does in the heat. So that's something I can play with too. Okay, so and don't do what I've heard about people doing, restricting their water on long rides just to adapt to being with less water. I haven't done enough study on that to know if I can declare it stupid shit, but I do know that the first line of defense for each cell in the body is water. The second line of defense, by the way, is fat, for the integrity of the cell wall. So yeah, I'm not going to be doing that with my water, especially since I'm AFib boy. No need to introduce a stress like that. All right, jumping back to the day before the race. So I talked about the ride stuff. Other things you can do in case you are new to the sport. Make sure you pack everything up, preferably well before you go to bed the night before. So if needs be, all you need to do is get up, get in the car, and drive. Now, the night before is not the time to be losing weight. Make sure you eat well, and the morning of the race, depending on timing, if it's going to be a morning race versus afternoon race, if you can eat a good breakfast, do so, but I tend to stay away from fiber in those cases. I'm a big fiber guy. I'm predominantly plant-based, but in those cases, no need to carry extra material during race day and during those races. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. You know the drill. Comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.